This video is to help you with the instructions for describing the language development of your case study and finding a teaching strategy to help support that language development. And so we're looking at spoken and written language, and it truly is what separates us from other creatures in the animal kingdom. Basically, the ability to transfer hidden thoughts and emotions and creativity into symbols to allow us to connect to other human beings really defines how we move around the world, how we think about the world, how we feel about the world. And so in this one, you'll really want to know what stage your case study is at their language development, because that will determine how much they can actually do when you try to teach them something. And again, just like in the brain section, you're going to be reading sections of the text. I would definitely recommend the first two, 52 to 55, because that talks in general how language develops. Then if you have a young child, then you'd want to look at table 2.4 and milestones in early childhood development, and also how bilingualism is developing in language on pages 55 and 56. So maybe your case study speaks more than one language. You can also, of course, Google your case study's language development, and you can watch some videos of how children acquire and produce language, and also one in speech. Ask your case study, how many vocabulary words do they think they know? How far is their language development? Do they have grammar and syntax? But if we're talking about a very young child, then the syntax would not quite be there. Do they experience any language challenges? What language do their parents or guardians speak at home, and is English their first language? Then you describe a teaching strategy to support that language development. So you'll be thinking about, how does your teaching strategy support people with different ethnic backgrounds? How does it develop the sounds, pronunciation, vocabulary, meaning, grammar, syntax, and metalinguistic awareness of language? Metalinguistic means that you're aware of what you're speaking. So you want to say, how does that develop? How about for bilingual students and also for emerging literacy for young children? When you also look at the text on some of these teaching strategies, and then you're going to put it together just like you do for the brain electronically, most by paragraphs, but if you want an alternative media such as PowerPoint, you can do one in writing, one in PowerPoint. It doesn't have to all be the same. You can do it any way you want. For example, you may defend the language strategy by finding a graph on the internet that shows how language vocabulary develops the more your case study is able to use that vocabulary in social situations. So whatever you can do to help support that language development. And if I click on the example for Jeff, we can go to what that might look like. There's one picture there. Probably need a little more visuals here to make it look a little more exciting. But the language development is tied in a little bit with the brain. And we bring up the case of Jeannie, who was a young person devoid of social context for the first 11 years of her life. And the question was, could she actually learn how to speak? And so you can take a look at that YouTube clip. And then the language development for teaching strategy for this particular one is the habit of daily practice. And so this talks about how Jeff would develop his language development through daily practice. And that's it. So move on, say that stuff for the end, and move on to the next section.